Happy Friday, Vintage Church. This is Pastor Timothy with your weekly update. And I just wanted to share with you a few things from this week and then a word of encouragement and invite you this Sunday to join us online on YouTube and Facebook at 10 a.m. We'll be looking at the extraordinary love of God. And it is extraordinary. And we'll be finishing up a section in the Sermon on the Mount that we've been going through over the last 6 weeks on the 6 antitheses. And this one's a doozy. It's Jesus saying, "You've heard it said that you should love your neighbor and hate your enemies. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." This is an extraordinary love. And the hope this Sunday is that we can only love with an extraordinary love if we've been loved with an extraordinary love. And so I would encourage you, join us online, 10 a.m., YouTube or Facebook, or join us at one of our watch parties. We have a watch party at our house. We open our doors at 9:45 a.m. If you're interested in coming, please message me and RSVP to me so that we know you're coming. And if you are watching this at your home with your immediate family or maybe some neighbors or friends, I heard a great testimony this week meeting with someone that they actually invited their neighbors who they've been talking about the gospel and Jesus with over to their house on Sunday nights to watch the sermon and to participate in our online service and to have a watch party. And that's the whole idea. And so thank you so much. That was an encouraging bit of testimony. And I would love to hear more and more about watch parties being extended out to neighbors and family and friends. And so also this coming week, we have the funeral. And so I would just covet your prayers for our family and for all the details. This is our first time planning a funeral, and so there's lots of different things swirling around, and we just need to make some decisions and get ready and prepared. And just pray for grace. It's a time of still mourning and just dealing with the grief of losing someone that we loved and cared for so much. It was such a tragedy. And also just having some good conversations with our leadership team, elders and deacons. Lots of stuff is happening behind the scenes here at Vintage Church. And so just want to encourage you, stay tuned to the weekly updates, stay tuned, subscribe to Instagram, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Or if you're an email person, go to our website, vintage1948.com, enter your email, verify it so that we can send emails to you when we do, usually on a weekly basis. And we just finished a 9-week study called Gospel Center Life. It's one of my favorite, and we'll be doing that again shortly. But I think this next Bible study that we'll be doing, I had a great idea from someone that, it was Debbie, who suggested that we talk about how do we evangelize and how do we share the gospel in this postmodern, divided culture that we live in and where everything is changing so rapidly. And I think that's a great idea, so I'm looking into some options. And so stay tuned for what is coming. We'll also be having another core team interest meeting coming up. Really, a lot of things were put on the back burner because of the funeral and just walking through that with our family. But there's a lot of good things happening, even in the midst of the tragedy and even in the midst of the opposition. I am so encouraged by what God is doing, and I'm excited as we continue into this next season of the Sermon on the Mount, looking at issues like spiritual disciplines, rhythms of grace like giving and fasting and prayer, and others. And so it's going to be a great time. We're going to continue to learn what it means to abide in Christ so that we might abound in fruitfulness in our everyday life. And so before you go, I just want to leave you with a word of encouragement. You know, this Sunday we're talking about the extraordinary love of God. And in Ephesians chapter 3, verses 14 to 19, Paul prays for the Ephesians. He knows that this love is extraordinary, that it's an entirely different category than human love. And so he says, for this reason, I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth is named, that according to the riches of his glory, he may grant you to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love. And that's one of the things that we want to see here at Vintage Church, that we be rooted in Christ. And so this is a prayer that we should be praying frequently, because he's praying that we would be rooted and grounded in love, and that we may have strength to comprehend with all the saints. That's all of you watching. That we would all understand, that we would all grasp, that we would all wrestle with and comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and the length and the height and the depth, and to know the love of God, the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. You see, the love of God is something that surpasses knowledge. You can't just read a textbook or a theological treatise to understand the love of God. That can be helpful. But to truly understand and to know intimately, deeply the love of God, it happens through prayer. It happens through an experience with God. It happens when God grants us a spirit of wisdom and revelation to know him better. When he gives us the strength to comprehend. We need strength. We need power to comprehend the love of God, because it's extraordinary. To know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that we may be filled with all the fullness of God. And that's exactly what is promised in Romans chapter 5, that the love of God would be poured out in our hearts so that we could love with an extraordinary love. That we wouldn't just love our spouse or our kids or our family with this extraordinary love, or our neighbors or our church family, but that we would even love our enemies. And so truly, this is an extraordinary love, and we need the grace and mercy, the strength and the power of God himself to give us such extraordinary love. And so that's my prayer for you this Sunday, as always, that you would comprehend, all of us would understand and know deeply this love of God, for it truly is an extraordinary love. Hopefully we'll see you on Sunday, 10 a.m. Again, that's on YouTube and Facebook. Comment, like, do whatever you need to do. Engage us on social media. We're here. If you have any special prayer requests or needs, I would just encourage you to reach out. Please reach out. If you are experiencing any type of isolation, struggles, loneliness, if this pandemic and all of the things swirling around us is just too much to bear, yes, I'm praying that you would dwell and abide in the love of Christ. But he's also given us a church family to love one another. And so if you are struggling, please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to reach out and see what we can do to love and serve you, brother and sister in the faith. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Sunday at 10 a.m.